Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at implementing reviews for our application. So first of all, we will take care of cleaning up some stuff from the previous episode, and then we're going to jump into reviews, which is essentially one of the moderators going, is it good? Is it bad? Do we need to wait? Leave a kind of a review comment as a summary of what you're expecting to be done. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and take a look at the cleanups. So underscore trick ID, where our moderation item lives, we have a couple of comments here. Let's go ahead, take the comment out. This thing right here, let's put an @ sign here. So in case we move the page, it's not going to break, right? So the @ sign just means a local, in your root folder, the components folder, right? Comment with replies, get rid of that. We don't need it. Some space here. Let's handle it. And yeah, once this has been taken care of, and actually let's not forget that. Okay, so we're treading on thin ice here. Next thing was not one of them, but some of the common components. So let's go into comment first, and at the top here where we had the reply, we would have a key missing, so we are getting like an annoying warning here. So let's go ahead and bind, and I'll actually use reply with interpolation for the reply ID. Okay, so reply-reply ID. Cool. So once we got that, let's go ahead also return the load replies, just so we are consistent in what we're doing with these. Okay. Next thing is the label of the comment. So for example, if I say something like hi and I comment, and if I have the reply, I have send. So what I actually wanted to happen is the whole reason I put the label on there is when I when I go to reply to somebody, I have the reply button here instead. Okay. So if I reply here, there is a reply there. If I comment, I have the comment, right? So I have that control, and I actually wanted to put that there. So now it's there. And another thing, on the comment input, a nifty functionality that I wanted to have is Control-Enter to send the message, right? So we want to hook in to a key event. So let's key down. We will hook into key down, and what I want to do is use Control-Enter. And this is Vuejs functionality, so I'm going to leave a link in the description for the Vuejs documentation around this. I recommend you go check it out so you know what's possible. And on here, we will just emit the same event, right? Make this self-closing so it doesn't jump off screen. Let's go ahead, check this out. Control-Enter. And there we go, submission, right? Awesome. We probably also want to make this comment clearable, and the comment itself should really be pressable only if we have a comment present. So what do we want to do? The button here, we want to essentially bind disabled. So it's only disabled when we have no content, right? So disable it. If we start typing, it is enabled. And on the text field itself, let's go ahead, start putting some of this down. So what we can also do is add Clearable, and this is the part where we're typing, and I hate what I've written. Let's delete it. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And now this is also available on these elements. Yeah, so we type in, and okay, so I was a little bit confused. The cross wasn't there from the beginning, but we actually need some text for the cross to appear there. Okay, so as far as the comments go, what I wanted to do with them is now done. Let's go ahead towards the reviews part for the moderation items, right? So as it goes into the models, into the moderation item, let's go ahead, add a class, a review, right? So this is a review, base model, integer. We want a string of comment. So you leave a review and you have a comment. It doesn't contribute to the discussion. This is just kind of a explanation for your decision of the review, okay? And then what kind of reviews can we have, right? So public class or rather, let's create an enum, review outcome. Yep. And let's have a approved. So you approve, which will say 0. Rejected, so you reject, and waiting, right? So probably not outcome, but status. So as soon as we, let's say we get 3 approved, we complete the change. If we have 1 rejected, no matter how many approves we have, we might want to stop it, although this opens up for malicious reviewing, like somebody wants to make a change and you just reject it to prevent it, right? So if you want to be malicious in that sense, there should probably be some kind of overriding mechanism. Maybe you just bump up the number of the reviewers to like override the reject. But again, it's a little bit further down the line that this will need to be resolved. So let's get this status on here. So prop, review status, status. Okay, next thing is that this should be belonging to a moderation item. So moderation item ID, moderation item. Let's go ahead and put this here as well. Cool. So there's our review. Let's go ahead and on our moderation item, make sure we get this thing here as well. So reviews and review, right? Nothing too hard. You know, standard C# procedure development. Add it to the database. Reviews. Easy peasy. Easy going, you know. We got that. Let's go to controllers again. We're just going to stick this in the moderation item controller. I'm going to copy these two because it's really similar. It's only something that the moderation item has. And if you're wondering why I'm not just returning a single moderation item with the comments and reviews as properties on those, the main reason for that is there is potential for real-time updates for comments and reviews, so it is probably worth keeping them separate. Okay, so for now we'll keep them separate, and they're really like kind of separate concepts on the. I think keeping them separate is a better decision. Like when you're doing moderation, the performance isn't that big of a impact as the discoverability of the app itself and the usability in terms of browsing. Moderation is kind of like a more involved process where you're like, right, and you're going to be waiting anyway, right? It's not like approve, yeah, get this over. It's more like we need to check that, you know, it's going to be slow anyway, so it's okay for it to be not as fast, right? So even though I don't think the performance will be that impactful, but anyway, we want to get the reviews. Let's just get the reviews. Where moderation ID, yes, and let's just to list this. A review. Same thing here. So from body, we just want the review. I am fully aware that the comment has moderation item ID, so we don't really need to pass it here. But I will probably change this to their own forms. Okay, so we will probably not stick with sending the model in the controller. Okay, we will probably change this to be a form. So don't worry about that. Again, this is just quickly getting these features out the door. And then we're going to go from back, refine, and see what can be improved. Okay. So with a review, same kind of thing. I think the approach that I will actually take here is, and I will see if I can do the same with the comment. I will check if there is any. If there is none, the regex stuff, we don't actually need it. We can grab the context and we can just add the review, right? So if the moderation item exists, I mean, that's the end of story, really. And let's return the review here in the end as well, right? So I think this just might be a little bit easier. I'm not sure entirely, but it looks to me like that's something I would want to do. So let's go ahead and put this here, right? Saving a line of code, every little helps. Like it's all gonna add up in the end. But anyway, So we get a bunch of reviews for a moderation item, and then we can create reviews for a moderation item again. So let's create review, or let's say review. There is the missing concept of the user for now again. So there is going to be a lot of work around users when we do add that functionality. So for now, it's really easy to work with it, but once we add the users, that's when I think the bulk of the work will start to emerge. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this part is done. Let's go ahead, close all of this stuff, and let's traverse into our trick ID. Okay. So again, before this episode, I practiced. If you want to try to implement this yourself in terms of how it's going to look on the front end, etc., be my guest. I am just going to go ahead and proceed. Vero, I'm going to split this, right? I mean, it seemed like pretty reasonable decision to split it to me. It looked kind of nice. So calls 7 and 5. Comment section goes in the first column. Second column is where we have the reviews, right? So vcard, standard, vcard title, reviews, and we what I thought was kind of cool. How many are complete, right? So it's like a little checklist where we'll just put these numbers for now. Vcard text, so like the body, what do we have here? So I wanted to put in kind of like a list of reviews. So for now, let's say something like div no reviews, and the divider. I had, again, I always end up putting paddings on these because they are, otherwise they just stick to everything, so they don't actually end up dividing anything. They become part of the component. So I just put the margin on there so it actually divides the stuff, right? And then I had the vtext field. So the vtext field is really to capture the comment. So on the review, we have the comment here, which is again, kind of, so the reviewer can explain his decision between what's called for the review that he's giving. So we are going to ask for a comment, maybe if he rejects or waiting, maybe if approved. Is there really, he's like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's pretty much it. But if he rejects or waiting, I think that's what really, why are you rejecting? Why are you waiting? What's the reason? That's when we actually want to, you know, ask for the comment. So one thing here is this comment right here. If we Control F it looks like we're using it all over. Like we have a bunch of comments all over the place, but we're not actually using this comment because before we had it bound to an input field for the comment, but we don't actually use it anymore. So what I will do is I will reuse it, but I will call it review comment. Okay, so as a review comment, this is what I'm gonna bind it here, so I know what it's actually being used for. So vmodel review comment, and let's put a label on here, and we'll say review comment, and then on the bottom is where we're going to have the actions, vcard actions. And here I wanted 3 buttons for the 3 outcomes that are possible. As I know what this is gonna look like, not the prettiest design, but it's something. Okay, so if you have, again, I think I've mentioned this almost in every episode, but for anybody who thinks they are designer master extraordinaire 3000, drop me a comment, reach out to me on Discord, show me what you've made, and you know, if it's good, I'll copy you. I had 3 buttons in here. So the button, approve, and then 3 of these, reject, and then wait. Okay. So that is what it looks like more or less. Again, we can regulate it how it looks like on mobile, etc. But for now, that's pretty much it. Okay. So let's a little bit of color to it. Right, we need a little bit of flavor, you know. For each of the enums, what I basically came up with, because these are enums, and anytime I create enums on the back end, I think we've already been in a situation before where we've created enums on the front end, but essentially, yeah, when I create enums on the back end, I create enums on the front end as well. So let's go ahead, copy this, go back into here, and we'll create a const. And what do we call it? Review status, review status. This is a new object. All you have to do is replace the equals with colons, and in writer there is uppercase keybind, so yeah, or case, so toggle case, Control Shift U, so Control Shift U and Control Shift U, right? So twice, select the thing and toggle case, right? So I don't know why, I just like it all caps in JavaScript, just gives that extra enum scream, you know, instead of like in here I get the colors in, or do I really get, I don't know, but here I get the scream, you know, it's like, I'm an enum. Okay, chill out. But anyway, based on which enum we are, because we are now in the UI world, so we have colors, we have icons. This is what I want. I want a couple of functions that, depending on which enum I'm giving, I want a specific color or an icon, right? So let's make a const review status color, and let's just put a status in here, and we'll evaluate to, let's say, status equals, let's not go too crazy, I don't think. Let's just put an if statement, and I was gonna go with nested ternaries, but I thought that would be a little bit overkill. So review status approved. We're doing colors, so let's return green, and this is gonna be that standard Vuetify color. Otherwise, rejected is going to be red, and waiting is going to be orange, right? It's like a traffic light, you know, familiar concepts like reuse. You know, it's like the floppy disk for saving. You know, it's iconic stuff. So yeah, so review color status. There we go. Let's go ahead and get the icon in. So review status icon. So this could probably go somewhere in its own file. For now, we will keep this here. So for approved, check. For rejected, close. So we're just gonna get the X. And for status, I think it's time, maybe clock. We will see. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and put these onto methods so we can actually access these here. So at the bottom here, let's just do, I think this will, yeah, I think these will bind just fine. Okay, so if we need to use them, this is how we do this. And what I think I'll do is actually use a v-for loop. So let's get a computed property in here, right? So computed, and I think let's name these outcomes, right? So what kind of outcomes can we have? So title of the button, let's say accepted or accept, or actually we named it approve. A lot of names, it's gonna get confused a little bit. The actual status is, let's see, review status approved, and then the rest of this stuff can be derived through these functions, which I think we can actually go ahead and use here. So color will be review status color. Let's do review status approved, and I think I will. This is getting bigger. I mean, yeah. Let's go back. I want to use the functions from here. Okay. So let's say reject, and let's say wait. Let's put the commas on here. Let's do rejected. Let's do waiting. Okay, and these are outcomes, or maybe a review actions. Okay, yeah, I think that's a better explanation for that. So for every button, before action in review actions, we want to display the title, and it's all right for now, right? This is about as easy as this can be, but we are going all out in this one. Let's go ahead and let's have the icon, where we are going to be supplying our icon. So action, or rather, what was the review status icon? Review status icon, and action dot status is what we're passing into there. Next thing on the button, we want the color. And again, we want to bind this, so we can grab the function and put the status into there. So that's how we're gonna render it. Because we're for looping here, what we actually want to do is bind the key for, let's say, review action. And again, make this a string that we can edit. And let's start dropping these 2 new lines because this is getting quite lengthy. Action.title. Okay. And I think that's it for now. Let's take a look at this. Looks like, right? We don't have the icon for the wait, so I think I messed up the time. Let's try clock. And there it is, right? This is goddamn YouTube quality website. What I'm talking about. Class, let's justify center. Yeah. And we can do the same in terms of the disabled, what we do for the comment here, you know, how this button is disabled, well, whatever. And unless we have a comment, we want to disable the reject and wait. So at the bottom here, let's go ahead and give ourselves a bind for disabled. There are neat tricks you can do without involving the thing down here, but again, I think for readability purposes, this will be a lot better. And we'll do this dot review comment, I think it was. What did we name this thing? Review comment, yeah. So this review comment is kind of not empty. That's what we're looking for. So let's grab this much, put our stuff in here. And this will be actually always false. All right. So for the approve, always false. We don't need it. Otherwise, for these ones, we want to check if this review comment isn't empty. Okay. So I think that was meant to be it. And we're actually not binding it. Okay, so that's my bad. So on the disabled, let's again do disabled and action disabled. Okay, format this a little bit. And if we type something in, those become available. If we don't type anything, they are not there, right? So about actually creating them and getting them. Again, this stuff is not rocket science, right? Reviews, 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 reviews. Okay, a little bit of a copy pasting and stuff like that, but I think this is pretty much where it ends on the reviews in terms of copy pasting, right? But then on the send, let's change this to send comment. It will find all of these. There's another change here which we don't really care about, so let's refactor only this stuff. So on the send comment here, we can see it's being lit up here as well, so that's fine. And let's just copy this and we will create review. We don't need the content, however, we do need the status, okay? So depending on which button we press, we want to pass that button's status into the create the review function, okay? So we are going to be posting to the /reviews in terms of the content. Actually, I already had it open there, but yeah, here it is. We need the moderation item ID, we need the comment, and we need the status. So the moderation item ID, let's actually mod item controller. Let's open this up. And as I said, this is probably going to change. So what I will do is kind of make a mental note for myself on the moderation item ID. What I want to do is actually put this ID that does exist, okay? And I'll do the same with the comments because the comment is going to change, okay? So let's put this here and that's that, okay? So let's close that. Back to the review. So we don't actually need to put the mod ID on the model itself. What we need is, let's see, comment and status. So comment, this, it's not sent comment, review comment. Not sure why it's grayed out like this, but there we go. And status, status, right? So when we create the review, let's go up here. When we click on one of these, we want to create the review, and action.status is what we pass. Okay, so let's create some reviews. Let's say yes, approve. It looks like that has created a comment. Maybe because we've pushed it into the comments here, so it shouldn't actually have created a comment because we're pushing it to the reviews. So let's actually push it into the reviews array here. Cool. Okay. We're gonna refresh this, and okay, so there is not gonna be any comment here. We're not rendering them anywhere here, so I'd actually want to render them there. So let's actually do that. So where we have no reviews here, let's go ahead, put a div here, and this will be if reviews.length more than 0, otherwise we have no reviews. So let's get the v else in here, and this probably smells like its own component sort of thing, right? So we might get a moderations folder into here and spread these components out, or basically extract this into its own component. But for now, let's leave this here. So if we get a bunch of reviews, let's go ahead and just get a paragraph. Maybe that's gonna have a bit of what's it called, margin on it. I'll just have a v4 review in reviews. Let's not forget the key. We'll have a review with a review.id. And what I want to do is, again, I want to display the icon with the color. So color, let's bind it. There we go. Review status a color. Let's say review status. And the icon status. There we go. Let's put this here, and actually we want review status icon, right? So this should give us a couple of things. So if I refresh, nothing is in there. Let's check. I think I kind of lost track in terms of what actual data is going to be rendered in there. So in the view plugin, let's go ahead and find our trick ID. We are going to click on this, and we're going to take a look at the reviews that we have here. So it looks like we do have the, okay, I copied the wrong thing. All right. Oh, check mark. Awesome. And what you would usually have is username, right? So some kind of username, maybe we'll put a chip in there, and then we will have the review comment. And this is the sort of thing where it's like we can put a span in here, if we actually have a comment. So let's put this here. Okay, this goes in here, and I think it will be better if we put this on one line. All right, so if we have a comment, do that. If we reject it again, so let's refresh this. One thing is about like these positive reviews, so let's get the number in here as well. But that's pretty much, you know, like user, some kind of user, what he has done, what his comment is, standard review procedure. Let's go ahead and take a look at displaying this count here. So let's say approve count. This is going to be return, and let's not forget our angle bracket here. What? This reviews, we want to filter by where we have the status equals a review status approved, right? So where we approved, and let's just say that we have length. So this is the approved count. Control home to jump all the way back up where we have this number. And for now, I'm gonna leave it at 3, but what this number, we might put it in the configuration, we might do stuff with it, right? So this 3 number, it might be a little bit dynamic. So let's say if there is 1 reject, we bump it up to 5, right? And what's going to be displayed here will really have to be mirrored in the expected validation on the back end, right? So to keep things simple for now, we're gonna think that we need to reach 3 at any times, but really, this display right here, this cross, there is no button on the UI to say like finish this moderation item, right? Depending on how many approvals that we get. So every time we approve on the backend, we're going to check, is this that final approve where we need to finalize this moderation item, and whatever change we're reviewing, either create the trick, either change the description, either change the name or whatever, that will be handled automatically with the final approval. Okay. So for now, simple reviewing process. Again, bulk of the work will be when we actually add users. But this will be it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section. If you're a regular Twitch watcher, go ahead and check out my stream. I stream on Wednesdays and Sundays around 6 o'clock. Don't forget to join my Discord server to participate in the community. Hopefully, I'll see you in my other episodes.